Hello, this is Matthew Armstrong and welcome to Transformation Talk. Today I am extremely, greatly and deeply honored to be speaking with Jay and Linda Kordich. Jay has been in the health movement, well, one of the pioneers from the very start, but right back from 1947, 1948, starting juicing, and Linda later on picked up and carried on with him since I think 1980 or something, was it? Linda, you started.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just been the I suppose the ripple you've just spread throughout the globe. Where myself, I was listening to your cassette tapes many years ago, and that inspired me to start juicing, and then I've inspired others, and that ripple effect must have just gone around the world 1,000 times, and so it's amazing to be speaking with you both right now and to share your wisdom and knowledge. So thank you for being on the call.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you.
We appreciate you having us on.
We really are grateful to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So maybe just start with you, Jay. I just want to ask. You started right back 1947 with juicing, and it was when you were diagnosed with bladder cancer. I just want to ask you. Back then, you were very, very young. What? How did you think you got bladder cancer? How was that caused?
Well, I don't know if it really really bullseyed what I was doing, but I was on a football team at a university, one of the best universities in the United States, and the team that goes to the Rose Bowl most of the time. So I was on eating steaks every day of my life. I mean, pork chops and hamburgers and all that. I mean, it was my basic diet. Being a football player, you use so much protein and everything else, and you build muscles and all that. That's what I was told. And of course, I had my anatomy classes at the university and all that. So I was a big believer in animal products to build strength. And being a football player, American football, it's a rugged game. It's a tough game. It's head against head, boy. Guys colliding all the time and everything else. So I figured, hey, I need this animal protein that's going to build my body and keep me from being injured or damaged on a heavy basis. So I brought the meat into my diet. So I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I did end up with pardon the expression, peeing blood. And I figured, hey, that was all the animal products I was starting to take that my body wasn't accustomed to. So when that happened, I went to see my professor at the University of Southern California, where I went to school, had my anatomy classes and everything. And he said, Jay, it's not that. It's just that your body isn't accustomed to it. And all that animal product you've been taking, like 3 times a day, steaks and chops and hamburgers and everything else, just kind of, it just kind of caused your body to go in a decline like that. And, I didn't know what to do. And he put me, he's one of the guys that started putting me on natural foods.
Sent you to Gerson.
Yeah. And he sent me to Dr. Max Gerson, who was Dr. Albert Schweitzer's private physician.
Well, back then.
Yeah. Way back in Schweitzer's day, And
so that's how Jay met Dr. Gerson.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I went on, and I stayed on it.
Okay. And you went on juices for 2 years back then, right?
Yes.
That was a long time. Yeah, I was about 188 pounds, 190 pounds, running back, a fullback and halfback for University of Southern California, and I was drafted by the Green Bay Packers in the National Football League. But by that time, I was spewing up a lot of blood through my urine, and I said, "There's something wrong." And I went back to the university and talked to the professor, and he straightened me out, told me what to do.
So Gerson actually put him on the 2-year. Well, it was 3 months, but he kept it for 2 years and lost like 60 pounds or something.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I went way down from 190 to about 135.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's what made him well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I just did myself and Victoria. We just did 100 days on juice recently, and
oh gosh,
and it was pretty tough to be honest. 100 days on
yes,
pure juice. It was tough.
No
so
question.
two years. Yeah, it's hard to fathom.
Well, but I know Jay, and when I first married him in 1981, well, we met in September of '80, just briefly for a few moments, and then in January 11th, 1981, or January 10th, somewhere around there, I actually hooked up with him, and we were talking. I did not the way people say hook up now, but got together. And we had a wonderful meeting, but that's another story. But he was so intense. I mean, even back in 1981, when I met him at this restaurant, I mean, he had apricots in his pocket that he was eating and spitting the seeds out. Oh, excuse me, just sorry about that.
Okay.
And so he was extremely dedicated, intense, motivated. When you're an athlete and your intensity factor is so strong, focused on football. I mean, you take that discipline and you turn it over to something like you think you're going to die. That's been transferred easily. So he was highly disciplined. But I think didn't you have warm soups also at night or something?
Oh, yeah. But, the thing that really focused me to do this raw food juice diet was that my professor at the University of Southern California, USC, where I played football. They go to the Rose Bowl almost all the time, so it's like a big school. And he's the one that recommended that I go on a juice diet, and
which is really strange for 1948. And that's how this professor knew about Dr. Gerson. So Jay took a train all the way to New York and got his treatment, and then decided from then on, that's it. That's all I'm going to do is sell juicers and teach people about juicing and show them.
Yeah, when I got to New York, I found out about the program and what to do and how to do it. And it seemed impossible to do, but I said, I can do it. I can do it. Why not? It's my life.
Yeah.
It's hanging my balance, so it's up to me to do what I'm supposed to do. And I did it. And here I am today. And that was way back in 1948, 49, you see?
That's phenomenal. Over 60 years ago, phenomenal.
60, yeah, he's 88 now, so 63 years ago.
And I've never given up. Juices are my bullseye on the target for nurturing my body, living by juices. Then I do little goofy things, It's not.
Well, meaning like he'll eat.
Well, I'll have rice and beans once in a while, a few things like that.
Yes. In the wintertime, sometimes we'll do
Soups.
about 25% cooked foods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I try to stay. The main focal point is bring those juices from raw plants into my body. Period.
Yeah. And when you are eating mostly raw in the summertime, what would be your main source of calories as well as the juices? What else would you take? What else would you eat?
Well, basically, for example, like spring, summertime, we live in the far north up here, very close to Canada. So our summers are really quite short. But this year, we had about 3 months that was really fair weather. So basically our caloric intake are things like, like greens, like salads, super greens, romaine lettuces.
Salads are a must. That's a must.
And baby field greens and, beet greens. And we make our major meals out of salads. And so the calories, of course, are also things like, like complex carbohydrates. Sometimes we'll put in some really ancient grains like quinoa, or sometimes we'll do black-eyed peas. To give us the protein and the calories to sustain us throughout the day, because if we just strictly did nothing but greens for 90 days, we would it would be fine, but sometimes for us, we found that the best long-term balance is to balance it out with a little bit of protein foods, because I can't really digest nuts too well, so that's partially my challenge.
Yeah, I'm a great eater. I'm a great eater of almonds, especially almonds.
Soaked almonds. And fruits. I mean, Jay's a big avid fruit eater, so that's where we get most of the simple carbohydrates. But fruits, nuts, seeds, legumes, sprouted, and some of the ancient grains and vegetables. What else is there? That's where all life is.
Mother Nature's foods.
Yes.
Foods that are live, uncooked, raw.
Yeah.
I will eat a soup here and there.
Yes.
But I won't eat cooked vegetables.
Never.
If you steamed a bunch of carrots or some celery or whatever, I won't eat them. Now, but I'll take that back. I will eat. There's a few vegetables, if you want to call them that. I will eat rice and beans
In the winter.
steamed together.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, steamed together as a combination, because that makes almost a perfect amino acid protein to build muscle and strength. You see?
Yeah.
Rice and beans in a combination. So I'll do that. But when I do that, I just want to say, you folks that are listening out there, I will take a bunch of chopped raw onions. They have to be raw. You can't be cooked or steamed. And then put them in with and stir them up with the rice and the beans. Boy, oh boy, I love that. I've been raised on that. I mean, I made a point of it to take care of myself. And the reason I do that is so that the rice and beans can be absorbed with raw onions. Raw onions have all the elements of life, the enzymes, you see.
Yes, full of enzymes.
I told about the rice and beans.
Oh, yeah,
together.
right. But we always eat a lot of raw onions.
Okay, great, yeah.
Helps digest.
Yeah, we don't
It
have
helps digest the cooked food.
Yeah, we don't have any friends,
but we have each other.
and we're healthy, you know.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a bit about your mentors, Jay? Max Gerson, Dr. Norman Walker. What were they like?
Walker. Oh, they were terrific. Dr. Walker was quite elderly when I met him. He was in his 80s then, and he wrote the best books on juicing, juice therapy, colon health, things of that nature.
Raw vegetable juices.
Raw vegetable.
Oh, gosh.
That's the name of it.
Become Younger is like our classic.
Yeah, Become Younger is a classic book. All the folks listening out there, if they were to go to a health store, I'm sure they could probably pick up a book, but they ask the health store owner to get Dr. Norman Walker's book on juicing or on vegetables. You know, terrific. And
Younger.
Yeah, another book too, hardback cover, is called Become Younger.
Yeah.
These are great books to find out about the body's requirements and why you need them and what they do.
I remember when I married Jay,
Mm-hmm.
he had 2 books in his hands that he carried with him night and day. And this is like after 30 or 40 years of teaching juicing. He had the book Live Food Juices by Dr. Kirshner. And then he also had Become Younger by Dr. Walker. And then he would mix that up between the raw vegetable juices, which is the name of his other book.
Something I wanted to ask you, Linda, was about bringing up children on plant-based diet, going through pregnancy, that sort of thing. How was that for you? And because I know that a lot of women, when they get pregnant, they start getting scared, and they are frightened. They're also frightened by the doctors to eat meat and different things like that, and quite often they get cravings as well, and then they say, oh, I must need to eat that because I'm getting a craving for it. How was that for you?
Well, for me, there was never a craving because I was 27 when I 28 when I first got pregnant. And my second pregnancy, I was 31. So by the time I was 28 years old, I had already been, like a vegetarian all my life. So it was never an issue of cravings. And I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. But basically, for me, when we were pregnant with our first son, it was just a normal, wonderful pregnancy. I never had any trouble because Jay was juicing for me all the time. And I was drinking probably about a quart of vegetable juice a day and maybe 1 shot of wheatgrass juice every day. Now, interspersed between that, we're talking 1983, 1984, we were not raw foodists. We were strictly vegans. I mean, we would eat a lot of nuts and seeds and grains and salads. And as long as I kept 50% of my meal during my pregnancy with green, like, back then we didn't have the baby field greens like we have now. We would use things like spinach and romaine and put them in a salad with, let's say, for example, 3 or 4 different shredded up vegetables with some garbanzo beans. That was a very high protein meal and highly digestible. So as long as you put high protein foods like tofu and beans or sprouted sprouts or sprouted grains or even cooked grains, as long as you don't make them too much, and you use them in the salad base, how could you not get enough protein? And the benefit of that was that, remember when I gave birth to John? It was 4-hour delivery, and he had like a perfect APGAR score, which means that his skin tone was beautiful, and my my ankles and my hands really never swelled up. So it was a relatively easy birth, and we moved twice during my pregnancy, like a big household.
Yeah.
While she was traveling from city to city to city, I did this all on my own. So I'm not saying that I'm, Hercules or anything like that, or Mrs. Hercules or anything like that. I'm just saying that just believe in the plant-based protein foods. And if you ever become afraid, if someone's out there listening that's pregnant and you become afraid, then don't, you have to follow your heart. If you're going to surrender and say, well, I just have to have some eggs or some protein, then do it. You have to follow your heart. But I'm saying, based on my experience, I had a very easy pregnancy. And then my second pregnancy with Jason, that was an entirely different thing, because John was only a year old when I became pregnant with Jason. So here I had a baby in diapers, and I'm pregnant again. And sometimes when women become pregnant, like very quickly again, a lot of their natural vitamins and all their how they fortify their body, it's all been depleted because they have given it to their baby. So I started doing more supplementation with Jason. I still had a tremendous amount of energy, but I was under a lot of stress because we were building our juicing company at that time with a 1-year-old, and I'm pregnant, and Jay was never home. I mean, he was gone all the time doing television shows and radio shows, highly driven, and I think he was about 64 at the time, and I was right around 31. And so to make a long story short, I have to say to you that my second pregnancy was really challenging because my son was breech. He never really turned. And I fell into a crisis with I had to have an emergency C-section, but he was still a perfect baby, and he still came out really healthy. And the only reason why that is because due to stress. So that's why I say, if you're really stressed out and you really feel like you have to eat protein, then go ahead and do it. But I'm just saying to you that both of my babies were conceived vegetarian, and we just didn't have any problem at all, really, except just that one little C-section that took me about a month to recover from.
Okay, and you brought your children up as vegan, did you?
We brought them up as vegetarian, and then by the time they were 12 and 14, we all became vegans. As a matter of fact, our oldest son became a raw foodist, I believe, when he was 16, and I mean a really strict raw foodist. He wouldn't even eat in a restaurant because he didn't trust the food, So he was a raw vegan for 6 years, and then he went back into veganism when he got married because his wife was a vegan. Yeah. So Jay and I, we're basically, 75% raw, 25% cooked.
Pretty simple diet.
And
right?
that is what has sustained us long term for 30 years. Oh yeah, well, what we do in the morning is a super green drink with the Sun Warrior protein powders.
Yeah.
We do. We fill our blender up with water and the raw vegan protein powders with the Ormus greens and the liquid minerals, and then we also supplement it with like about a quarter of a cup of spirulina and a quarter of a cup of barley grass, and sometimes we'll put in fresh almond milk, and then that's what we have for breakfast. And then we do probably about a quart and a half of vegetable juice a day. Mostly right before dinner, and we'll drink all of our vegetable juice around that time with dinner or before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And do you do smoothies as well, or just juices?
We really don't do anything with ice.
Not with ice. Just I mean, in a blender.
Yeah, we've made some protein drinks and
we make smoothies, but we just don't use ice.
Okay.
But this is important to say. We're fruit eaters and vegetable juicers. So we really don't blend fruit because fruit is 100% water. It's better to eat and let your salivary glands to sort of mix in with the fruit. But we do a lot of living soups, like blended soups when we're doing lots of detoxing. Yeah.
Okay, great. Jay, I wanted to ask, over your many decades of vast experience in the health world, what has been, I suppose, maybe your most important distinctions that you've come up with as regards to health and healing, or anything? Really?
You mean accomplishments or
the most important thing he's learned.
Yeah, really. What's been the biggest things that you'd like to pass on to people that you've learned over the years?
Well, it's very simple. You're only as healthy as the food you put into your body, and our mouths are pretty dumb. They'll take anything you want to. You want to put ice cream in there? You want to put candy bars in there? You can do almost anything you want to in your mouth. You bring something up to your mouth will open up and take it. So you have to be kind of discipline is a good word. You have to know that only live foods, only plant life can really build live cells. Anything else is secondary and tertiary. So what you have to do is kind of narrow that path. Don't put all this junk food in the body. Once you stay away from junk food and food with all kinds of sugars and things like that, you're going to be pretty healthy. So let the vegetables build the body, and let the fruit give you the stamina and endurance and the energy.
And love too.
And love is really important.
Love and tenderness. He knows that. He's just shy. He doesn't like to talk about it. But you know how important it is.
Well, sure, but it's all right.
See, he's shy. But being married to him for 3 decades, I have to tell you that fruit is a big part of his diet, and so is our vegetables and vegetable juices. And a large part of it is just like an inner gratitude and joy for nature and for the beautiful foods that nature provides for us. And what he says to me all the time is, Lynn, I just wish people could fall in love with nature. And once they fall in love with nature, everything falls together in a beautiful form. Isn't that true?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And that's a simple little slogan that I had. 4 words: live foods, live bodies.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think that way.
Yeah. Also, you must have seen a lot of miraculous healings as well with people over the years through juicing and that sort of thing. Is there anything that can't be healed?
Well, I've been to some of the best health clinics. Dr. Gabriel Cousins is one of them. Dr. Cheney, who was my doctor. Dr. Max Gerson.
Oh, yeah.
All these.
But have you ever seen? I think we've seen some people die. We have, but the most of them are just. Yeah, it's really awkward to say miraculous healings, but when you're really devoted and committed, people get well. But I think that there's really one thing that we're not. It's sort of a philosophical question in a way, because basically, if you're not open to healing and you don't really want to get well, how could you ever really get well?
Yeah.
So it's like a mental thing too.
Well, if you think about the way people cook foods, when you cook anything, you're going to destroy the elements of total life. Look at our friends now that we have, Gabriel Cousins, and people like that heal people, that put people on
right. We have about 10 people right now that we know. Cured from multiple sclerosis and cancer. Just horrible situations that people are in. And blood disorders, leukemia, and
we've
lupus.
seen it firsthand,
Yes, and within 90 days, it's like Jay says, you can change all the cells. You can change 90% of the cells of your body in 90 days.
Yeah.
So when your cells of your body are highly oxygenated, how can disease really live there? But there's a spiritual element. That's sort of what I talk about in our books. Is there's also a spiritual element to healing, and that's surrendering to the beloved, surrendering to the God force that surrounds us and that's inside of us, getting in touch with that inner self that is so precious in all of us. We have to be able to get to that core of our heart in order to attain real, true, long-lasting health. But you can't do that without, of course, this beautiful way of life. And a simple life is the best life. Simplicity is, as Americans, we totally overdo everything. If we just peel back all the craziness and just get to the core.
Can you see this right here?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that later. We don't want to talk about that right now. He's proud of his CDs.
Well, CDs, very simply put, has the answers to a lot of different things that go on with the body and how the body deteriorates. So,
yes, and motivation, inspiration, that's what we need. We need to simplify our lives, and we need to find sources of inspiration, motivation. Because as you know, just coming off that 100-day juice fast, you know, we go through a lot of emotional and mental challenges. We go into hunger stages. I mean, we really need that inspiration and direction.
Yeah,
that's why we created our program.
Yeah. Linda, I just want to ask you as well about bringing up kids. How did you deal with the vaccines? Because I know, especially in the US, vaccines are very, very prominent, and it's kind of pushed on children.
It's ridiculous. I mean, look, I remember when I was a little girl in the 1960s, I remember getting my polio vaccine and being shot. You know, they shoot you this little in your arm, the vaccine in the big auditorium, and it's like mandatory and everybody has to do it. But when I became pregnant with John, well, we had 2 boys. So number 1, no circumcision. Why would I hand my baby over that's only 3 days old to a nurse or a doctor that's going to use a knife without anesthesia and cut their skin off of their penis? I mean, hello. I mean, if we were in another time,
that would hurt.
Yeah, right. I mean, it just didn't make sense to me, you know. So number 1, we didn't do that. Number 2, we never let anybody touch our children with vaccines. And the reason why is because there is just way too much controversy. Even back in the early 1980s, there was a lot of awareness about these. I think it was this special. There was 3 or 4 shots that I just wouldn't let them touch my children. Never. So they, at this time now, 27 and 25, have never been inoculated. And they've never had any of those diseases.
Yeah. Okay, great. Did you want to share the CDs that you just wanted to show there, Jay? You want to share about those?
Sure. Here's a group of CDs that we have. This first one. Can you see this?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, My Life Story. This is a really inspiring CD about his life. And then this is a CD called Live Foods, Live Bodies.
Well, that's my slogan, Live Foods. If you put something dead in your body, you can't build live cells with dead food.
Right.
Here's another one.
Oh, and the 20 best foods and the 20 worst foods. So that's sort of a biggie. And then, How to Live to Be 100 Disease Free.
This is my favorite right here.
This is Jay's favorite right here. Oh, actually, My Life Story is my favorite.
How old am I now?
88.
88 years old. I might get there. I might get to be 100.
That's a duplicate. And the power of greens, the most important thing of all, is we need to consume greens. So that's part of our big living health program that consists of our Life Foods, Live Bodies book, and then also 2 beautiful DVDs that we filmed in Hawaii about 3 or 4 years ago. But you know, there's a story to that. Can I tell the story?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's a story to this program. Jay and I were forced into retirement in 2001 due to long story. But when we got forced into retirement, we had a little bit of money. And so we decided that if we couldn't sell juicers and we couldn't really, get back into the life that we used to have, we would devote our life savings to creating this program because, you're only going to live so long on the planet. And so the best thing you can leave people is everything that you've learned in your life that you can share with others because we're all going to disappear. We're not meant to live forever. But the quality of our life, just a minute. The quality of our life is the most important thing. And so we thought, okay, let's share everything we know. Let's say, okay, let's do some more CDs. Let's go to Hawaii and do some DVDs. And it was so wonderful because it took about 3 to 4 years to actually put it all together because I was such a perfectionist and the CDs had to be just right. And so we had to keep redoing them. But when we filmed the DVDs, we had a guy follow us for 2 weeks. And so we had a huge amount of footage, but everything it was like a love project, that's why it took so long to do. Oh, and then the book is this right here. And this is what comes with our program. It's just fantastic. It's just like beautiful, beautiful book.
And all of our best recipes and how to prepare certain foods.
Yeah, and all the super green recipes, how to make nut milks, and really build a living kitchen, which is sort of what I teach. I teach people how to build a living kitchen in their mind, their heart, and their soul, so that they spiritually understand what they're doing, and they mentally understand what they're doing, and they understand the physical needs of a living kitchen, appliances and tools, and sort of how to organize it and how to get prepared for juicing on a daily basis and salad making. And so we did all of this in a 3 or 4 year period and put it all together. And the reason why we did it is because we wanted people to have something that was really truly from our heart, not just a sales job, but something that came from our heart and our soul, and something that we wanted to share. And that's why we published it ourselves, because if you went through a publisher, they, if you know this or not, publishers have all kinds of layers of people that are going to tell you what to say. So that's why we're excited about the program.
Yeah.
It really means a lot to us.
Publishers would delete a lot of things from our story,
Yeah, and they'll say, oh, you don't need to talk about that. Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes, we do. We really need to talk about this.
And the title pretty much says it all.
Live foods, live bodies.
Live foods,
Yeah.
live bodies.
So think about, think about what you're putting in your mouth. Is it alive? And if it's not alive, is it an animal? Or if it's not an animal, is it dead? Then if it is dead, you want to put some live food with it to crank up the vitality factor.
Yes, yeah, makes perfect sense, and we'll have a link below to go to get those CD set and book and everything. Awesome.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the viewers right now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if I had my juicer here, I'd be making carrot juice for them. Pineapple juice for aches and pains of the joints and all, because of the bromelain in fresh pineapple. Things like that they may not be aware of. You've got to realize that if you waved a magic wand over the planet Earth and say, plant life, be gone, evaporate, we'd all die within a few weeks. Nobody would be alive again.
Yes.
So tell us this, Jay. What would be your number one juice for longevity?
I think a drink of 4 vegetables: carrot, celery, spinach, and parsley.
Yep.
That's your potassium drink. Okay. That's one of the greatest drink combinations of all time,
What will that do for us?
We vary around that. Go ahead.
What will that do for us?
What will it do for you?
Oh, that'll keep every one of your 100 trillion cells healthy, so they don't atrophy, so they don't age. And it'll keep you, really, I think that drink will keep you healthy into your, like myself, into your deep 80s, maybe your 90s, and maybe like my dad, I kept him on juices. And I started late with him. I didn't start till he was in his
80s.
No, he was in his 70s, I think.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And my dad lived to be 104 years old.
Oh, really?
And healthy.
And healthy. No doctors, no nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Very healthy. They have their own garden.
And my mom, she was on the same juices that he was on, and my mom was 98 when she passed away.
Oh, wow. That's
oh, yeah. Wow is the answer.
That's inspiring.
Listen, our mouths are real dumb.
Yeah.
As soon as you bring something to it, it'll open up. It'll take anything, candy bars,
so
ice cream.
So we need to learn to discriminate. So.
Yeah. And how much juice were your parents taking in? Were they drinking like a glass of juice a day? Were they taking a liter a day? What were they drinking?
They drank at least 4 large 8-ounce glasses a day. Yeah. That's a quart.
And they were from Yugoslavia, so I remember they'd be all speaking, Slavic or whatever in the kitchen. And I only remember one word. It was "svaki dan, svaki dan, svaki dan." And I finally figured, what the heck does that mean, Jay? One day we were driving home. It means every day, Lynn, every day, every day. So yeah, they were really beautiful people, But if I could say one last thing, it's not just it's what Jay gave a great, beautiful example. If all the plants were gone on the planet, where would we be? That goes to show you that we're interconnected to plant life, to nature, to trees, to the wind, to the birds, to all the things that make life mysteriously beautiful. And when we consume the liquid part of the plant, we're also consuming the intelligence and the love, and all that just brings so much joy into our cells. And if people could just trust us, that if they drank a quart of vegetable juice every day, especially the high grains. Their lives will change, their palate will change. And once that happens within 4 or 5 days, you're on the road to recovery.
Okay, that's awesome. I think we'll finish up with that, because that's just awesome advice, and it's simple, like you said. It's very simple, and it's life changing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, stick with Mother Nature.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, Jay. It's been a fantastic pleasure, and thank you very much, Linda. It's been amazing just to be able to sit here and have a chat with you both, and just receive years and years of wisdom and experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us on.
Matthew, Victoria. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Armstrong, and this is Transformation Talk. Make sure you tune in next time.